So you found the skeleton. How would you tell people that this happened? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
Okay, we're here, hopefully, until the regularly scheduled end, because one day I was here with internet and everything was great, and then I just didn't have internet again for 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, that was like
I
12
believe.
minutes before we were supposed to start.
Yeah.
You're just gone from the call. Oops.
Yep, I just dropped. I was talking pre-show stuff, future plans, but then just no.
No plans for you.
You know what it is? It's the universe showing me that I'm wrong about the fact that or about the idea that jade yoni eggs are dangerous.
I imagine that the face Kent is making right now is the face Dapper was making when his internet just eat it.
All right, guys. So we're here for Kent with Bent. As you can tell, we have an extra guest hanging out. We got Cheshire Vic.
Hello.
It's been a while since we had any guests on Kent with Bent, and it's been quite a while since a guest was Cheshire Vic.
Been a while.
Yeah.
Been a while.
I think this is like your fourth or fifth Kent with Bent?
I think so.
Something like that.
I wasn't counting. I feel like counting would just make me sad, especially since you guys are on 71.
Yeah, we are. Well, as you guys might have known from the thumbnail, it's All Souls Day. And I literally made this an All Souls Day special because I didn't want to have to come up with an actual title. So you're welcome.
I hope.
Yay!
Yes, you did. And so there you go.
It's gotta be some kind of holiday.
Yeah, it's All Souls Day. So in case anyone doesn't know, in Catholic tradition, which also extends to like Anglicans and I think some Lutherans or whatever, Western Christianity largely, the traditional sort, Halloween, that night, you start the All Saints Day vigil at night. Then there's the All Saints Day actual service on November 1st. And then All Souls Day. All Saints Day is to commemorate anyone who, according to those versions of Christianity, are probably in heaven. And All Souls Day is to commemorate the dead broadly. So it's sort of like the Day of the Dead, but less Mexican and less drinking. But we're going to drink anyway.
Yeah, I'm starting with a tea, but I got a beer ready for myself.
Which reminds me, it's time to go over the drinking rules in case anyone is new or just doesn't remember them. Like maybe I don't.
I do not remember them.
Well, there you go. All right, so actually, we probably added a few since you were here last.
I think so.
So we drink whenever Kent Hovind is just so stupid, we just kind of have to, or our brains are going to turn to mush.
Got it. Yeah.
We drink whenever he gets something. Oh, we drink for Godzilla. We drink for Godzilla.
What was that?
We drink whenever Kent Hovind gets something right that he isn't just quoting. He has to get it right on his own. And we're usually relatively generous with this one. So, if he's mostly right and it's in any way something that someone might get wrong, we'll take a drink for it.
We'll be charitable about it. We'll be nice.
Let's see. Did I put in the Roman numeral wrong on the thumbnail? If I did, oh well. Anyway, we drink whenever Kent Hovind tells a joke that doesn't land, whenever he tells a story that we're pretty sure didn't happen, whenever he brings up the leader of the German Workers, the National Socialist German Workers' Party, anytime he brings up the leader of that party, or generally that party overall, we take a drink, because he does that a lot. We also take a drink if one of us makes a prediction about what Kent's next point is, or whatever is going to be, and then we get it right. Take a drink for that. With that, I believe that we are ready to dive into more of Kent Hovind's CSE 201 Class 4, which, of course, is the continuation of his creation, science, evangelism, quote-unquote college courses, which, according to him, were accepted by at least a few schools for credit. So, yeah, that's horrifying. Which, by the way, we got to get Chesh that Christian counseling degree from Patriot Bible University. We need to find a pastor to endorse her.
That got put a little bit on the back burner with all the nonsense that's been going on the past 2 years.
Well, I still think that our next hurdle probably really is getting that letter of recommendation from a pastor. So we'll work on that.
And
You might have to
any
go
pastor
undercover for a
will-
few weeks at a church.
If any pastor wants to endorse me, I'm just gonna help
Right.
people with it. That's all I want to do. I just want to help people.
All right, here we go.
Some people say, well, if it doesn't hurt anybody, it's right or wrong.
Oh, right. We're talking about how if evolution is true, then that doesn't tell you anything about morality, which, right? That true?
Yeah.
Had a kid tell me that at a college a few weeks ago. I was having a debate there, and he says, well, he said, I'm living with my girlfriend here, and we don't see anything wrong with it. So therefore, it's okay. I said, well, does her dad see anything wrong with it? Do her brothers see anything
Is her
wrong with
dad
it?
part of their relationship?
I'm going to go ahead and guess no. Also, I'm
Why
not
would-
sure this is a conversation that really happened.
Yeah, why would someone be talking to Kent about that?
Yeah,
think
I
that
wouldn't.
happened.
I wouldn't talk to Kent about my living arrangements with any significant other.
I might, just to freak him out.
Well, okay.
I might just do it just to stress him out further and more and further and more and further and more.
If Kent knew what kind of dogs
I
live
would
here,
probably-
he would be
yeah.
furious.
I'd probably just start making shit up too.
Well, I'm not quite ready to say that this is a conversation that didn't happen, although I'm getting there. So let's see what else we got.
You know, sure, you may not see anything wrong with it, but what about her grandfather? Would he see anything wrong with it?
Look, Kent, we all know
Who
that
cares?
lots of people are going to not agree with some of your life choices. The fact that people don't agree doesn't make them wrong. It just...
What about
Okay,
the
here's-
neighbor that's downstairs that hears them banging every night that doesn't want to have to listen to it? They got to work early the next morning. What the hell? What about that poor person?
I also want to... Actually, I'm gonna drink because I just realized that this is stupider than we're thinking. Okay. Kent Hovind just said that just because you don't see a problem with it doesn't make it wrong, or right. Which, the corollary is, just because you do see a problem with it doesn't make it wrong, and currently his only argument is there might be people who have a problem with it.
Yeah, like your father or grandfather.
So, either whether or not you have a problem is irrelevant, or it's not, in which case, like, Kent is trying to argue out of both sides of his mouth, which is why I took a drink, because, stop it. Pick a lane, Kent.
It makes me wonder, like, well, some people don't approve of your business, Kent. Does that mean you shouldn't be doing it? I mean, he's not wrong, is kind of what's happening here, but he's not wrong by accident.
Right. The problem is that he's using
He's trying
double
to
standards
present
here.
it. Yeah, he's trying to present it. He's technically correct, but the way he's presenting it is the incorrect conclusion from what you would draw the point from.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
You know, have you really searched this out? Where's the standard for determining right and wrong? Thus saith the Lord. And the Lord said in Leviticus, ye shall not make any cuttings in your flesh, nor print any marks upon you. Now, this is an Old Testament.
Isn't that also the book that tells Kent not to eat shrimp?
Probably. I don't know why it's quoting
Josh,
it.
I
It doesn't
think
talk
you're
about the
muted.
flood too much.
I want to know what that has to do with anybody's living situation.
Maybe he'll bring up a verse about not living with your girlfriend.
Me.
Okay.
Law to the
And then
Jews.
he's
I
got to
understand.
relate that
Don't
to
get any
evolution
tattoos.
somehow too.
Okay? And I haven't gotten any. And some people, we got 8 or 10 people on our staff that have them, okay? I don't say you got to go cut your arm off because you got a tattoo, but God says
that's
don't
nice.
do it. The point is,
Well,
there's a
cutting your
standard.
arm off would be cutting your flesh, though, so it would still be breaking
Right?
the rules.
So,
Ooh, roasted.
okay. So we went from you shouldn't be living with your girlfriend to I'm going to end this poll, by the way. Space Music won, but then I decided not to have any pre-stream stuff, so sorry if you voted for anything and then you got nothing.
Did
It's
you
just like
really
a real election.
decide that? Was that a decision that you got to make, or did you just were late? Because
Well, I was
technical
late, but I
problems.
still could have done one of the openings. I wasn't
Could have
physically
been even
prevented.
later. Would have been even later
It's
though.
true, yeah. But anyway, yeah, so if you voted in this election, you got nothing, just like most elections. So, anyway, yeah, so as far as I can know, we're just segueing from don't live with your significant other before you're married straight to don't get a tattoo based on Leviticus. And I'm pretty sure that there's not going to be any thought given as to how it is that certain things from Leviticus are important and others aren't. Like, does Kent wear blended sweaters or shirts? Because Leviticus says not to.
Looks pretty polyester.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, I'm not saying that if you're a Christian, you can't draw things from Leviticus.
We need to know
Yeah.
what type of underwear Kent is wearing, because if it's Fruit of the Loom, he's boned.
Well,
I don't know why he's not wearing a tie.
you know, I can't say too much, but
I'm not happy with it.
I've been getting some stories lately from people in the know, and I think Kent might actually be getting boned.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, you know, good on him. That's important.
Well, except when you're on record as pro-gay genocide.
Oh, you mean like he could also be getting boned by, like, you know, the law.
Oh, no. I don't mean the law. I mean quite literally with, you know, the gay sex.
Yeah, well, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I don't judge.
I don't, but he does. Which means I
But
get to
he
judge
does,
him.
yeah.
So.
That's fair. I
Yeah.
guess that makes sense.
Well, look, I don't care what you do unless you're going to say that people who do what you're doing should get the death penalty. Then suddenly I'm like, hey, what was that again?
What was that about that living situation? And if
Yeah.
what you're saying may or may not be true, he may or may not be breaking the rule that he's laying down right here.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's hear what else he has.
Sure.
Oh, Kerry Bronson for $5 says, do not make me think about Kent's nether regions and what they get up to, please. Look, it wasn't my intention earlier this week to get into that, but then suddenly I received communication that I wasn't expecting. And yeah, it's crazy. I can't talk about it currently very much. However, let's just say this. Steve and Kent, this is Steve the tech guy, they might just be more than good friends.
Oh, you mean not Steve McCrae?
No.
And not Steve that's the FBI agent that Katie Joy is totally talking to,
No,
right? Not that
neither of
Steve.
those people. Steve Kent's
Well, those
IT
people
guy.
might be the same for all I fuck.
But it would be Steve's fault, though.
Well, yes.
Now,
Yes.
what happens is we tend to make decisions on right and wrong based on what everybody else is doing. Well, everybody else is getting their nose pierced, so I'm going to get mine pierced, you know? What does God say? You got to get the standard down in your head that whatever God says is sufficient. He said,
This is basically just Kent being, I'm a boomer and everyone else should be too. Because it says so in the Bible. And then if you're like, hey, Kent, you know, you're also doing things that it says not to do in Leviticus. He's like, but those parts don't count because I said so. That's the whole thing he's doing right now. Until he gives me what his standard is for deciding that this verse in Leviticus is important and that one isn't, none of this means anything to me. Oh, and I'm screwing up my chat window. Whoops.
Steve.
Seriously, that's Steve's fault right there, is that I screwed up the chat window. Also, Kerry Bronson did a super chat before we even started, like yesterday, for $2.
Yeah.
That was For the Void and Godzilla, so thank you very much for that, Kerry. I forgot to say that because it went out of my list of super chats. So, here we go.
said it, I believe
Do we
it.
have to
All right?
drink for that one?
If you're going to go by the
He mentions Godzilla.
I mentioned it, but he didn't put in the emoji. The emoji's the important part for super chats. Oh, there's
Better
Mothra.
luck next time, pal.
All right, drink from Mothra, and here we go.
whims of society, it's going to be
Right,
chaos
Mothra.
because they're heading to be more and more heathen all the time. I mean, a lot of people either don't know or don't seem to care what God's word says, okay? God says your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit, okay? There are many things I can do.
Apparently, you can't put holes in temples. So any temple out there with a window that opens to the outside, strictly forbidden.
Supposedly, you're not supposed to put a penis in there either.
Whoops.
I mean, I've never been to a temple that didn't have penises in it, just because, you know, people go in there. Oh, and Mothra's back.
But it's your body that's the temple, not the literal temple.
Oh.
But that I do not do, precisely because it would be a hindrance to my witness. I would drive some people off.
Oh, you
Actually-
wouldn't want to do that now, would you, Kent?
So here's something, though. I'm going to be fair. There are things that I don't find to be wrong that I avoid because I don't want to drive people off for bad reasons. So I'm actually with Kent on this one. There are things that you might avoid because they might hurt your messaging, even though they shouldn't. So
I feel like there's a few other things Kent could add to the list of things that he shouldn't do to, drive people away.
you mean
There's a couple other things.
beating his wife?
I didn't want to name any of them, but there's a few out there that are pretty important.
I'm just gonna say from now on,
that might help him.
All conversations with Kent Stoven should start. Kent, have you stopped beating your new wife?
And it wouldn't even be a fallacy.
Right, because he's a known wife beater now. So, yeah, by the way, guys, in case anyone was wondering, since the last Kent was banned, somehow my opinion of Kent Hovind has dropped even lower, and it was already pretty low.
Yay!
There's a certain segment of the population.
There's certainly things that you may want to avoid for the sake of comfort, for the sake of, even sometimes for the sake of other people.
Yeah.
Like you might have a family member that has a very, very differing political opinion than you. And so you avoid talking about that political opinion while you're with them because you just don't want to get into it with them. That's like basic level communication stuff. Like that's not even, it's not even a big deal.
Well, and it's also like, why doesn't Dapper Dino swear basically at all? It's not because like the person behind this microphone never swears. I did while I was trying to figure out why my internet was gone. However,
I secretly recorded that so I can release him swearing later. Oh.
Yeah, because there isn't already audio out there on other channels.
There'll be more.
Oh wait, you've come over to my channel, haven't you?
Yeah. Look, I've sworn on Sal Cordova's channel.
Yeah.
Which I apologized for, but anyway. Yeah, the reason I don't do it though is because I know that I would like for my output to be something that people who are sort of, on the conservative evangelical end of things will watch without getting put off from simply because I swear, which is a stupid reason to be put off. But if you look at the comments on my Cindy Lincoln interview, a Christian woman popped in there and one of her first complaints was, oh, Cindy Lincoln swore. And it's like, okay, I don't like, but that's her first objection. She swore, so that means the whole thing is worthless. And I don't want people to do that to me, and I understand why Kent doesn't want to do it don't want people to do it to him. So anyway, we're going to hit play, because I kind of agree with Kent here.
That would not listen to me if I had long hair. They just wouldn't listen to me. They would automatically write me off as, hey, this guy is, he's rebellious
less ironic
or whatever.
If he didn't do it to other people.
Yeah.
So there's some things I could do, but I don't do purposely because I don't want to drive off. I don't want to drive off anybody because, of my appearance. I don't
Wait, so does that mean he's only following... Wait. That's he's only following the rules in Leviticus because of other people, not because of his belief in God, not because God said so, which is what he's talking about. He's explicitly explaining why he's not doing it because of God and why he's doing it only because of what other people do, which was a thing he was just complaining about.
Well, let me be a little bit charitable, even though I normally am not very charitable to Kent. I think it's a valid position for someone to say, I'm not going to do these things that Leviticus says not to do, because while I don't think that those laws are still incumbent on me, other people do, and I want to be able to get my message to them effectively. Which I think is what he's going for. If that's what he's going for, I'm mostly okay with that.
I'm okay with like the conclusion he's coming to. What I'm taking issue with is literally just a minute ago he was saying that, oh no, you shouldn't be dictating what's right or wrong based on what other people do. But here he is saying he's following what rules he wants to follow in the Bible based on what other people do and how they react to him.
Yeah.
While showing pictures of people with tattoos and piercings and saying you shouldn't do that. Your body's a temple.
Also, Tyler West says that Kent should rethink those Hawaiian shirts. I agree. I miss, like, suited Kent with the fun ties. That was one of my favorite things about Kent, was the fun ties. But I guess now Eric Hovind owns all of them.
Nice shirt, Hawaiian ties.
Oh, okay. Tropical flowers and palm trees on the ties and a real actual dress shirt. I can see that.
The Tele Francais pineapple.
All right, here we go.
What I teach, my doctrine, That I don't mind. That's just going to happen automatically, But I do mind driving them off because of my appearance or because of my behavior. Can I drive 100 miles an hour down the road? Sure. Should I? No, I don't want to offend anybody.
That is not why you should not do that.
Offend.
I'm going to take
I
a drink.
don't think that is the
Assuming
thing
by-
you should worry
I'm
about.
offended by this.
Yeah, the reason you shouldn't do that is safety, Kent.
There are other things Kent did that are far worse, that are far more offensive. I don't know why he's... who cares about physical violence? Who cares about lying about Jesus or science or both? Who cares about any of that? Speeding, no! That's the worst.
All right, here we go.
I don't get it.
So some things you can do that you shouldn't do. Paul talks about that in Romans chapter 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so where's the standard for right and wrong? And I go into my seminar part 1 here about how so many teachers just blindly follow the textbooks. They never realize they can teach creation if they want. There has never been a law against teaching creation. Now, later on, much later on, we'll be getting into what can you do in a public school, but I'll give you just a quick synopsis here.
I'm going to say I don't actually know the laws involved in the various jurisdictions about what you can and can't teach. However, I'm pretty sure that if a science teacher started teaching creationism, that would end with legal troubles. So if you want to avoid legal troubles, I would first consult with an actual lawyer because I'm not one. But then I would say I would not teach creationism in a classroom.
Maybe do not take legal advice from Kent Hovind.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's not legal advice, though. That's just life advice.
That's just life advice. Don't take advice from Kent Hovind as like a general thing.
Yeah. Also, if you're looking for someone to take legal advice from, maybe check their criminal record, and if they have a whole bunch of charges and like, what is it now? Like 43 convictions?
Even if they're now a lawyer, it sometimes is a good idea to check on, like, do they have reviews? Can you look up any previous stuff that they've worked on? Have they admitted to being a dirty cop in the past? Things you might want to avoid.
I feel like we're getting slightly off topic.
It's getting quite specific.
Here's the basic history. American school system, and we'll have all this is in our one-room schoolhouse to opening up here pretty soon. American school system is pretty interesting. In the early days of the public school system in America, students were taught the Bible. They memorized Bible verses. They had preachers come in and preach. They had chapels in public schools for 100 years. They had.
That's broadly correct.
I feel like they probably also had schools in churches for a long time.
In some places they did. So I'm going to take a drink for that not being like wildly inaccurate or anything. Carrie Bronson for $5 says, I have a former coworker who refused the vax on grounds of my body is a temple passage. I get eye twitchy about that line now. Yeah, that's...
Yeah.
Tell you what.
Yeah.
We'll do an experiment. I'll take a vaccine dose and squirt it into a church. If God gets angry about it and shows that to me, then I will take seriously the my body is a temple excuse for not getting a vaccine.
I think it's a pretty good excuse for getting a vaccine.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to protect. It's like shoring up the temple because something might be, there might be a wall crumbling. So maybe you fix it. Yeah. Okay.
At that. Okay. Did you have preachers come preach at your school when you were in school, Diane? Yeah, I did. We read the Bible every morning over the PA system and then had prayer.
We didn't even read the Bible over the PA system in my Catholic school. But, okay.
Public school. Pleasant Hill Grade School, East Peoria, Illinois. Okay. Mid-60s, though, they kind of all just dropped all of a sudden. When, evolution hit the textbooks. We covered that earlier. But so
that's why.
Yeah, that... I feel like Kent forgets that there were multiple sides that were both pro and against teaching evolution who were Christian during the times when, evolution was being introduced to the public school curriculum. Yeah. And also, even the Christian anti-evolution side weren't young earthers because most Christians at that time thought that was stupid because, well, I mean, it
I
is.
feel like Kent Hovind forgets that young Earth creationism is a younger idea, at least in popularity, than old Earth creationism.
Yeah, it doesn't go back much farther than Seventh-day Adventists becoming a thing and getting their own
Mhm.
weird spin on the Bible. And now, because one of the things you got to remember is most evangelical Christians are kind of iffy on whether or not Seventh-day Adventists even count as Christians because they believe in a post-biblical prophet, namely Ellen G. White, and think that her revelations were inspired by God, which most evangelicals would consider to be pretty significant amounts of like heresy, purge it with fire. But they also get a whole bunch of ideas from them, and creationist groups will also employ Seventh-day Adventists, but they usually won't tell you that they're Seventh-day Adventists. They like to keep that one under wraps. And they're very embarrassed about their Seventh-day Adventist roots for their ideas, and they will deny them. But if you get The Rocks Were There by R.J. Downard and Jackson Wheat, which you should, they do have a section on that, I believe. Here we go.
Nothing wrong with teaching creation in a public school. Never has been a law against it. In 1920s,
No, there is. You shouldn't teach things that are lies in public school.
evolution began to get into the curriculum more and more. And by 1925, I believe it was, Tennessee passed a law that said you cannot teach evolution in the schools. Several states were passing laws banning the teaching of evolution.
That's true. Take a drink.
Now, this was 1925, you know, the roaring 20s when everything's wild and loose and, you know, people are looking for a way to get rid of God, okay?
I mean,
Right.
some people are always looking for excuses to ignore various religious-based strictures. But it's not like in the 20s there was like an upswing of anti-theism in
The
America.
Roaring Twenties was all about getting rid of God.
Yeah. It was actually about
In fact, I'm gonna go fix the Wikipedia page right
Okay.
now because I feel like it's
just
probably wrong.
delete Roaring Twenties,
I can do
getting rid of God.
I need to play a trivia game with Kent Hovind now to know how much he actually knows about the 20s and didn't just read the Great Gatsby ones.
I don't think he's read that book.
Yeah, that's you're giving him a lot of credit and saying that he's read it once.
Oh, fair enough, I guess. I'm a nice guy.
And so several people said, hey, we've got to challenge this law. We have to stop this. And so the ACLU, the American Communist Lawyers Union, said, let's find somebody in
That was a
Tennessee
joke that
who's
didn't land
willing
him
to
drinking.
challenge this law. It's called the
It's
Butler
supposed
Act.
to be a joke. I didn't even notice.
He said American Communist Lawyers Union. It's the civil liberties.
Oh.
Yeah, the ACLU. The C and L don't stand for communist lawyers.
What?
I know.
B-U-T-L-E-R. Write that down. That'll be good. The Butler Act of Tennessee was passed in 1925, which said you cannot teach evolution. You cannot teach that humans have an ape ancestor. I forget the exact wording of the act. I've got it in my office, but they said you can't do that.
How much you want to bet that he actually does have a copy of the entire act in his office and he's never actually read it? He just wants to be able to say he has it.
It's a Michael Scott kind of thing.
Right.
I like
Seen
to
it.
imagine that if Kent's the kind of guy that would have a portrait of Kent sitting at his desk, behind him sitting at his desk, which is one of my favorite gags.
He has
by
a
the way,
portrait of
I
himself.
gotta get myself on my TV in the back.
He has a portrait of himself on the front gate to Dinosaur Adventureland.
Wait, really? Or are you
Really.
saying that?
I'm not
No.
kidding. It's really
does
there.
it like does it lock by his head turning sideways and just splitting his head in half at the mouth? Like
On one side is him reaching up to the neck of a surprisingly short Brachiosaurus type animal, and then on the other side is like his current wife. I think they might have changed the hair color to make it look like the new one.
Oh no.
Of
Yeah,
course.
yeah. I gotta say current wife because it changes every once in a while.
Yeah. As of the filming of this.
Right.
Yes, as of when we're currently recording, I believe it's still Sandra, but you never know. Just wait. When Kent starts saying more and more sexist things, it's because his wife has left him. He won't ever tell you that his wife left him. He'll just say more and more sexist things, and then he'll get a new wife and he'll calm down a little bit.
It's gonna have to do with like the you can tell he's having trouble at home when he starts like ripping on women.
Yeah, he'll start saying things like, "Oh, wives are supposed to obey their husbands," and he'll go on about that for like a half an hour, and it's like, "Oh, I see what's happening."
I see what's happening. Yeah.
Here we go.
Well, the problem is Tennessee had already voted in a biology textbook by Hunter that taught evolution. So here they got the legislators saying you can't teach evolution, but they voted in a textbook that says that teaches evolution. I've got the textbook in the library there, Jonathan, right by your desk. Have you seen that? 1911, I believe, was the time that book was written. It's one of the biology books that sit right behind the radio station by your desk there. It's by Hunter. If you look in there for a 1911 book, if you think of it, it'll bring that out. I'll show you sometime. But they taught evolution in the book.
He's not.
And Tennessee voted it in. Anyway, they advertised in the papers, would any teacher be willing to say he taught evolution so we can, have a court case and get this law overturned?
By the way, this is going to be the most long-winded summary of the Scopes monkey trial. My goodness.
Oh my god, I forgot he was doing a summary of something completely unrelated to what he was talking about as an aside.
Yeah, we did get here.
We're not even this bad.
we're supposed to be originally. We still haven't technically resolved the whole should you live with your girlfriend or not.
That's what I'm I'm trying to make that connection here, and
we haven't even gotten that far.
I just want to know what the grandfather said and why he was against it.
Or if maybe Grandpa was cool with it.
And said he was.
Well, so what if Grandpa's cool with it, your dad isn't cool with it?
And your brothers are, because you also mentioned brothers.
Yeah.
We'll
what do
find out.
you do? Do you just not get to do... Maybe it's just a woman thing. You don't get to do anything unless all the men in your life agree with it.
Yeah, Grandpa doesn't like your new piercings. Get out of here.
No. You have to ask permission before you can even get the piercings. You don't get to do it and then ask later.
Oh. Got to bring in like a signed permission slip to the little piercing place.
Well, you'll notice he's saying like your boyfriend is living with you, like who is okay with this. It seems very like...
Well, to be fair, he was talking to a guy who was living with his girlfriend, and he said, I'm okay with it. So, I mean, I don't know what he would have done in the opposite situation, although I'm not going to assume it wouldn't have been sexist. I'm just going to say it wasn't necessarily being sexist.
It might be equal opportunity just against younger people and making life choices.
It could be.
That
although
old people don't agree with.
It also wouldn't surprise me at all if it, in fact, just was sexist.
Also that.
Right, so, I mean...
Why have you moved in with this harlot?
Here we go.
See, laws can be overturned several different ways.
Yep,
the most common way is to get a court to rule that it's unconstitutional.
Is that the most common way? I don't know. I kind of need a citation on that one. I mean, I'm not saying it isn't, just like, that's the kind of claim that I would want evidence for.
So is that the citation? Yeah. Nice.
You can't do that. So somebody passes a law, you can't spit on the sidewalk, and you don't think that law is logical or reasonable. So when somebody's arrested for spitting on the sidewalk and they bring them in before the jury, and if you're on the jury, you have unbelievable power as a juror. There isn't probably one juror in 100,000 that knows what power he has. He has all the power over the law, over the court, over the judge. He is in charge and doesn't even know it. They're never told that, that's for sure. So the guy's called in, he's going to be a juror, and
Well, I think he's going with jury nullification, which, in case you don't know, is a thing that's pretty common in most places that have juries. Because one of the rules about jury duty is that you cannot be punished for an incorrect verdict. So, and also in the United States, where you cannot be tried a second time if you're acquitted of a crime, what that means is juries have the power to vote not guilty, even if they do believe that the person that they're trying actually did commit the crime. Usually it's because they think the law is stupid. That's called jury nullification. And it is a real thing. And a few years back, there were some places that now where marijuana is legal, where they actually kind of were giving up on even trying cases, because basically jurors were openly admitting that they just couldn't vote guilty on marijuana charges because they don't think it should be a crime, which is basically just entire jury pools threatening to nullify. So this is a real thing. You can, in fact, vote not guilty, even if you think someone's guilty. It's called jury nullification, and it happened for Kent. That's one of the reasons why he wasn't convicted of mail fraud or threatening a judge, basically. Because he was caught doing mail fraud and threatening a judge on prison phones. Well, he got one of his fans in the jury, and that's sort of the downside of jury nullification, which is you can have people who are voting to acquit even when the law is pretty reasonable. So I don't think you should commit mail fraud. I think there's a problem there. I also don't think you should threaten judges. I think that is bad.
Yeah.
So that shouldn't have been nullified. But yeah, I guess to be fair to Kent, he did take advantage of jury nullification. He's not a hypocrite on that one.
Yeah.
They call up all the evidence. There's a law right here. Statute number 4729 says you can't spit on the sidewalk. Here we got George here. Here's the videotape. Watch him, folks. Watch him spit on the sidewalk. Sure enough, he spits on the sidewalk.
Yay,
See,
George.
we caught him in the act. We've got it on videotape, and we got 5 witnesses. And they call in the witnesses and say, did George spit on the sidewalk? Yep, I saw him, and his time was. And they all agree he's guilty. But you, as a juror, think the law is stupid.
Mm-hmm.
The question is not, did he spit on the sidewalk? I mean, it's obvious he spit on the sidewalk. The question is the law constitutional? So you, as a juror, can say, not guilty. Your not guilty vote, of course, the rest of the jurors are going to say, what do you mean not guilty? What? And they're going to try to, berate you into voting their way, because they want to go home. I don't want to deliberate on this for 6 days. Come on, let's go home. Why are you holding out on this? Because, guys, this is the purpose of a jury. We are judging not only whether he's guilty, we're judging whether the law is any good. And this law is no good.
I mean,
so I'm voting
Some
not guilty.
Kind of.
that's
Kind of.
That's the ideal case for jury nullification, is that it's used exclusively when there's a problem with the law itself.
Yeah.
In practice, that's not only what happens, but on the other hand, Kent also isn't... This is the closest Kent has ever got to being just right about legal matters.
Yeah, this is as probably accurate as we're ever gonna hear Kent being for how the law functions at a like base ideal level.
Right. Now, what I'm curious about is I'm gonna suspect, I don't know, but I think that what Kent Hovind will say is that if you are a holdout and just vote not guilty, then that person gets to get off scot-free, which is not true. That's a hung jury, and they can retry.
Yeah, that's not how that works either.
Yeah. It does mean that that person won't be convicted at that point.
You don't deliberate for 6 days because one jury member, it doesn't have to be a unanimous vote.
Well, for guilty votes, it does have to be unanimous. At least in the US.
Does it have to be unanimous?
In the US.
Oh, okay.
But the thing is that, like, for instance, when Kent had that one juror who voted not guilty, it was a hung jury, but then the government opted not to retry. They could have opted to retry, and if there hadn't been, another Kent Hovind fanboy, he probably would have been convicted. All right, here we go.
Now, you can take as many revotes as you want, but I'm not changing my mind. And they're eventually going to come back out, and the jury foreman is going to say, Your Honor, we find the defendant not guilty.
Nope. That's a hung jury.
Hey,
Unless
you
they change
predicted
their...
it correctly.
Yeah, we're going to take a drink. Oh, and Creation Myth says it does in 48 states. 49 maybe? So, okay. I guess I can't say in the United States. It's almost all of the United States. Because the United States is a very variable place. It's actually one of the reasons I don't like to talk about the United States as, like, one place. Because, like...
Yeah, laws are different depending on which state you're in.
Very different in many cases. So,
let alone if you've got Kent over here talking about school districts, which are vastly different across America.
They're different within states, so...
Yes, it's like across America, not even like district differences.
Right. Yeah. America is not a homogenous place, which is also one of the reasons why I think it's stupid to aggregate, like, USA-wide statistics. It's like, this is the USA violent crime rate. I'm like, okay, right, but, like, I could be in Detroit, where the crime rate is about the same as in the Republic of Congo.
Place is just dragging down the whole damn number.
Or I could be in, say, like, I don't know, Boston, where the crime rate is about the same as, like, the Netherlands. I mean, like, it's a weird thing to aggregate for such a big place that's so diverse, but whatever, that's off topic.
Everybody's going to go, what? And you're all going to go home. The Butler Act, the ACLU wanted to do that. They wanted to get somebody convicted of teaching evolution because the law says you can't teach evolution. And then they wanted to make fun of Christians because of this.
So hold on, Ken. Did they want to jury nullify the Butler Act, or did they want to get a conviction in the Butler Act? Those are different things. I'm taking a drink. He just went through all of this explanation of jury nullification, which wasn't terrible. And then he's like, oh, and the ACLU wanted to get a conviction in the case, which That's true. They wanted to be able to appeal it so they could go to a higher court to overturn the law. But so I'm just taking a drink for Kent going on a complete tangent about jury nullification that had nothing to do with the Scopes monkey trial.
Yeah, but he's excited about it because it's his best chance.
Well, although at this point, I don't know if this was far enough before he went to prison for him to know that he needed something like jury nullification.
I kind of get the idea that he was relying on jury nullification for a while when he decided to
That could be.
structure or not structure or whatever you want to call it. When things happened and then he went to jail. I think he was kind of counting on enough people knowing about it. He didn't have a fan in that jury, it doesn't seem like.
No.
This. And they wanted to take this all the way to Supreme Court and say, see, you can't teach evolution. Because keep in mind, in 1925, there wasn't much evolution in the textbooks. There wasn't much evolution at the university level, even.
Yes and no. So the thing that's weird about the 20s is evolution was broadly accepted, but there are still lots of weird ideas that we've since rejected, like orthogenesis, and I think there were even still some saltationists.
Its prototype phase.
Kinda, yeah. Because one of the things you got to remember is that, like, you know, in the 20s, it wasn't that long ago that even the origin of the species came up. There would be people teaching in colleges in the 20s who would probably remember when Charles Darwin was around. They might not have been teaching, because then they would be pretty old, but, like, he was probably still in living memory at this point. Oh, wait, no. Yeah, no, in the 20s, yeah, probably. I mean, you'd have to go to find old people, but yeah. This is not like today where all of this is long since been established. I mean, in the 20s, there were still people talking about how maybe, like, dinotheres went extinct because they evolved horns that were too big because of orthogenesis that just told them to keep evolving big horns. And it's just like, no, that's not how evolution works.
What do you mean? How could, with all of the pro-evolution, anti-young Earth creationist stuff that Kent said started in the 20s, why would it's been 5 years, 1925 now, and there was still very little in evolution in the schools? How did that happen?
Well, this is just the start of it. But let's see what he has about the Scopes monkey trial, which I'm not even sure why we're bringing it up, because it doesn't matter really, but... Like, it doesn't matter to the science, it's of historical interest. But, like, literally nothing about the Scopes monkey trial is going to do anything to help us figure out whether or not evolution is true.
But they were trying to get it into the schools, and sure enough, they did. And Tennessee said you can't teach evolution. So they had the court case, the famous Scopes monkey trial. John T. Scopes was a PE teacher. John T. Scopes, S-C-O-P-E-S.
I'm going to take a drink.
He answered the ad, right. And he met with some of the ACLU lawyers
at
the drugstore there
bar.
in Dayton, Tennessee, little sleepy town north of Knoxville.
Chesh, this is the man who had thought T-H-O-T in his slides.
That's true. I remember. I was there for that one.
I know. It's one of my favorite Kent with Bent memories. It's when we found T-H-O-T in his slides. So yes, getting the spelling right is impressive sometimes for this man.
Oh no. I'm almost ready to go get my beer at this point.
About 90 miles. And he said, guys, I'm a PE teacher, and I don't get into evolution at all in my class, but I did substitute one day for biology class because the teacher was gone or sick or something. So I was the substitute biology teacher, and we had a study hall. So we didn't teach any evolution, but I will claim that I did, if that will help you. I think they paid him to do that. I don't remember what the deal was. I got the details in the office.
I actually don't remember if he pretended to have taught evolution or not. I don't know how much it matters, but I don't know if that's correct. But if anyone out there knows more about the trial than I do, let me know, because it might not surprise you to know that the history of this trial isn't exactly something I spent a lot of time researching.
They paid him to be the witness, you know. And so John T. Scopes said, yep, I taught evolution, and they had a big court trial in Dayton, Tennessee. July 1925, boiling hot in the auditorium, crammed with people from all over the country. People came from other countries, actually, to see this trial.
By auditorium, he means courtroom, by the way.
Okay. I
Yes.
was going to say, was this happening at the school or something?
No,
All right.
It was an actual courtroom. My goodness. Although, you know, there are some places in the U.S. where, for a very long time, there was one building that was the town hall, church, and courtroom.
I don't know how you guys have managed to do 71 of these.
I mean, alcohol.
Ken's
I-
an absolute brainlet.
It's
there's
not
just-
easy.
But he used to be so prolific that like we haven't run out of material yet.
Yeah, like damn, that's one, that's impressive. Two, you know you could watch them all again and catch all new stuff.
Oh, probably, yeah.
Mhm.
Like it's like the first few times I watched Arrested Development. Every time I would do it, I was like, oh hey, I never noticed that before.
It was like watching Back to the Future.
Yeah. Which, by the way, guys, when we do our shot-for-shot remake, we got Chesh on deck for Marty McFly.
Hell yeah. We
There you
also
go.
got to remember that we predict 9/11 with that.
Yes. We'll make it way more on the nose, though.
Mm.
And they were worried the courthouse was going to collapse. It was so full of people. So they finally, and it was hot, boiling hot. So they finally met outside. This is days before air conditioning. You know, Tennessee is hot, and July. So they met outside. They held court out there.
Yes.
And after 10 days of trial, the ACLU tried everything to bring in evidence for evolution. They wanted to bring in, you know, Piltdown Man and all the latest finds of evolution. And the judge says, well, no, forget it. None of the evidence for evolution is going to be allowed because that's not what's on trial. The question is, did he break the law? Simple. The law says you can't do it. Did he do it? And so finally he was found guilty of breaking the law. The teacher was John T. Scopes. The famous vice presidential candidate, William Jennings Bryant, defended the law and the creationist position. Now, he did a lousy job on a couple of things. He did not take what's called the young earth creationist position.
What?
Yep. He did a lousy thing by not being as crazy as he could be.
Wow.
Oh, man.
William Jennings Bryant said, I don't know how old the earth is. He said, the age of rocks doesn't concern me. The rock of ages concerns me. Well, that's a cute answer, but boy, oh boy, did that open the door for, you know, them to make fun of him. And papers all over the country were carrying stories about this trial. I mean, it was up to the minute. You know, news wires going out all over the place. Oh, wow, here's how the trial's going in Dayton, Tennessee. They called it Monkey Town. The atheists and the ACLUs tried everything to make the Christians look bad.
No. Okay, I'm taking a drink. The ACLU is not, nor has it ever been, an atheist organization. That's not to say they don't have atheists at the ACLU. They might even have a proportionally high number, but the point of the ACLU is not to be pro-atheism. In fact, they have numerous times sued to defend the right of people whose religious liberties were being trampled by various governments. It's not just to get religion out of school, although they do try to do that for good reason. So, plus, even at this trial, there were Christians on both sides. It was not, as Ken always wants to portray it, atheists versus Christians. Almost everything that Ken ever says, almost everything that Ken ever says is atheists versus Christians isn't. It almost always has Christians on both sides. However, it is time for us to take our intermission, so we are going to be back in about 3 or 4 minutes.
I'm gonna go with some beer.
Yeah, it's beer time for Chesh. I think I'm gonna freshen up this beverage, which is just a whiskey cola.
Beer on clock.
Yeah. So we will be back shortly, and also one of my goals. I currently have 6 videos that are unreleased. And I'm only releasing one a week, so I'm going to take some time and try to actually make a new intermission video that isn't going to get copyright claimed months after the fact, despite using copyright-free music.
Nice.
Yeah. So, for now, though, you get Power Rangers. Have fun!
Time for action.
Keep targeting Ranger teams. When I want your opinion, I'll give it to you.
Back to action.
1, fight!
We're not backing down. How can I help you?
Megazord, ready.
Tyrannosaurus!
I am Lord Zed, Emperor of all he sees.
All right, guys, we are back. So I hope you enjoyed that intermission. Which, by the way, reminds me. So someone did request they actually run a Power Rangers tabletop role-playing game. So I am doing some preliminary like concept art for that kind of thing and developing plot ideas. So maybe that'll be a thing on Top Hats Off. I don't know who would be in
Everybody
it.
try to work for Lord Zed.
I mean, I might toss Lord Zed in there. He's in Power Rangers again for the first time in like 20 years.
That's cool.
Yeah, they brought back Lord Zed in the previous season, and allegedly they're going to tie up, or they're going to work on that plot thread next season. So who knows? And I know what everyone is thinking. I know what everyone is thinking.
stickers.
Didn't he get turned into a man with a sweater that had the sleeves tied around his neck so it draped over him like a cape?
Yeah.
Yes, he did. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Don't ask questions.
Yeah.
Fine.
Here we go.
But the Christians in that town were very sweet and kind to the visitors coming in. It was just they were just treated them like royalty. Even the atheists, they're treated like royalty. But you can get a movie that shows in almost all the
know
public
who this
schools today
guy
called Inherit
is.
the Wind. Has anybody ever seen or heard of that movie, Inherit the Wind? It shows almost every year.
But I
and
thought you
almost
only liked the Green Mile.
It's true. He does talk about the Green Mile on a ridiculous amount. Although he's been doing it a little less, I think, lately.
It has been a while.
Okay, so here's the thing. Inherit the Wind is in fact a propaganda piece. Now, it's a propaganda piece for the side that I tend to favor, but it is a propaganda piece. It should not be a replacement for an investigation of the actual history of the case. So, just like with any Hollywood movie, it's based on a true story. That does not make it a work of nonfiction. So, yeah.
Yeah.
every public school. Some class will be showing that movie. The movie was made by, and Spencer Tracy's the main actor in the 1950s version. The whole purpose of the movie was to make fun of Christianity.
Oh my god,
Oh
take
my
a drink.
god.
No, it wasn't.
Not a whole movie making fun of a religious group. Oh god, what was the Passion of the Christ again?
I believe it was a whole movie, well, I wouldn't say that the actual whole thing is making fun of Judaism, but there's definitely, Mel Brooks is an anti-Semite, and he made that, so. But anyway.
Not Mel Brooks. Mel Gibson.
Mel Brooks
is
is, yeah, that's a different guy.
Yeah.
Look, there's too many Mels out there.
You're thinking of Mel Blanc. No.
Sorry.
Hey.
I actually,
What's up,
Mel Brooks is great. So I apologize very much to Mr. Brooks. Sorry about that. I mixed up a Jew with an anti-Semite. That's not something I try to do. Anyway, but no, the movie is not there to make fun of Christianity. It does make fun of certain parts of the Christian world that believe particularly ridiculous things that other parts of the Christian world seem to manage just fine without believing. So, yeah. Yeah, I know. Sorry, guys. Everyone's yelling. People are yelling at me in the chat. I know. Look, I blame the whiskey. I don't normally talk about movies here, especially not with whiskey.
There's an article on our website called...
I said Mel Gibson is a flagrant anti-Semite. I know.
Just type in scope.
I didn't say flagrant.
SCOPES, and it'll call up an 8-page article by a guy who did years of research on the differences between the movie and the real trial. Unbelievable thing. They changed all sorts of things. You know how Hollywood, if they're going to have a preacher in a movie, it'll be some wild-eyed, fanatical preacher holding an axe that's blood dripping off it because he just killed somebody.
Nothing like Kent.
What?
Nothing like Kent whatsoever.
First, yeah. Also, I'm gonna take a drink. I don't know what movies Kent is watching, but when there are Christian clergy in movies, that's almost never what's going on.
Why are they wielding an axe?
I don't know.
Blood dripping off of it now.
I guess I don't know. There's like a thing. There's like they're gonna be wild-eyed, which we've seen the crazy eyes out of Kent, and we've seen Kenneth Copeland, and we've
You
seen
can see it right now in Kent's eyes on this
Sure,
pause,
yeah,
you
it's a
know,
good pause.
still shot.
Somebody Photoshop him into a Ninja Turtle. That looks like a Ninja Turtle pose.
Okay, so here's what I want, everybody. If any of you know of a slasher film that has a priest or pastor or something like that, some kind of Christian religious leader as the slasher victim, put the title of it in there because I want to watch that movie. Because
As a slasher victim or as a
slasher, the slasher. That's what I meant. Look,
because I've definitely seen ones where there's like evil nuns and stuff like that.
I don't even remember any evil nun slashers. Is that a thing?
There's definitely like a good number of like possession type
Okay.
movies that.
But then
have,
it's really like the demon or the ghost that's doing it.
Yeah, and they've taken over like a nun's body and stuff like that. Like poltergeisty type movies
Yeah.
do stuff like that
All right.
sometimes.
So, guys, what I want is a Christian clergyman who is a slasher and who isn't doing it because the devil literally made him by possessing him.
Are we gonna find? Okay, what about like Children of the Corn?
That's the children.
Yeah, but aren't the children all part of like this religious sect?
Was it a Christian religious sect?
I don't remember. I'm just asking as an example.
Velocipaster, says Vishanti, but Velocipaster is an anti-hero, and he loses his faith before he becomes an anti-hero.
We're gonna find out
But
that
that's
like
close.
Freddy or Michael Myers are Catholic or something.
Well, I mean, Freddy being a Catholic priest would be in line with his backstory.
Right.
There you go.
Freddy Krueger.
Here we go.
Talking about they do everything they can to make the Christians look bad.
I will agree, though, Velocipaster is the closest I can think of. And not exactly a mainstream movie, but I guess technically it counts, maybe?
That's what they did with this movie, Inherit the Wind. And if they're going to show that movie at your school, you better object to that. And you can make 100 copies of that little 8-page article and pass it out to every kid.
Does he realize that would be 800 pages that you have to pay for at the printer? Because I don't know about you guys, but my school, you had to pay to print things out on the printer there. It wasn't much. But if I had to pay to print out 800 pages, yeah, that would be a lot. I was like, when I got to like 40 pages, I was like, oof, this is kind of getting expensive here.
So the kids are going to say, wait, teacher, they're lying to us. This movie, they're lying. And they are. They're absolutely lying.
Shocker, Hollywood film is not historically accurate. Big news at 11.
But now, if you're an evolutionist and there is no God, how can something be a lie?
Carrie Bronson goes with Brightburn. I'm pretty sure Brightburn was a kid and not a pastor. Although, if he was raised religious. So it's not... Look, I'm not looking for a Christian slasher.
You're looking for specifically
Right.
somebody who is basically a clergyman,
Right.
swinging his little clergyman pope staff around and
Oh, I don't care what
beating
the-
people to death with it.
I don't care what the weapon is. He just has to actually be
Yeah, that's what I mean.
a Christian
Yeah.
clergy of some kind, like a preacher, a pastor, a priest, a
That's
bishop.
part of his identity in the
Yeah.
movie.
Brightburn
Yeah.
is just a kid who I haven't seen it, so I'm gonna just take your word that he was
He's
raised
somebody's like doing confession in the confessional, and he slides a thing open and chokes him with some rosary beads or some.
That sounds like Hitman Agent 47
have to-
might do that.
Yeah. You're gonna have to get some reinforced rosary beads, because those are usually just flimsy chains, and that's not gonna do it.
No, he's got the high quality stuff. All right,
Okay.
it's just beads he put
It's
through
just-
brought wire.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fiber wire disguised as rosary beads.
There you go.
Mhm.
Fancy.
Mhm.
You know, like Pilate said to Jesus, what is truth? Well, he didn't know. Neither does Bill Clinton.
Jesus or Pilate?
I'm just gonna take your drink for random dunk on Bill Clinton for no reason. Like, I'm-
I need to. I have so many questions.
Bill Clinton. I feel like during the Clinton presidency, every once in a while, Ken Hovind just woke up and was like, "Damn it, Bill Clinton!" And then like he would just settle off back to sleep. Because Bill Clinton
I
apparently
think he
is
still
something-
does that. I don't
Oh,
think
yeah?
he ever
Okay.
stopped doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Carrie Bronson says the boys Homelander was for all intents and purposes a second pope, but no, he wasn't. He wasn't a clergyman. That wasn't his job. That wasn't a thing he did. Sure.
Also, he's not a slasher villain because we're looking specifically for a slasher movie.
Right. Although I would be interested if we had, supervillains who happen to be Christian clergymen. I mean, it would be interesting. I'd probably watch that.
Well, I
too.
mean, Nightcrawler became the Pope. That happened.
Well, he's a good guy though.
Is he? Are you sure?
I mean,
During
generally.
during that split off story, are you sure?
Overall, I consider Nightcrawler on the hero side, although many
Yeah, this
superheroes
was
have
like
had
a-
little odd moments.
This was like I'm pretty sure it was an offshoot story. It wasn't like the main world. And Nightcrawler became the Pope in the future, and there were like mutants getting hung up on crosses and murdered and lit on fire and stuff.
Christians don't have a long history of crucifying people, believe it or not.
Yeah, I mean, it was the Pope. I don't know.
Neither do many evolutionists. What is truth? That's a good question. If evolution is a fact,
No, it has nothing to do with whether or not evolution is a fact. They're completely
Why
unrelated.
can't?
In a drink.
But why can't?
So Vashanti asks, can you count priest Paul Bettany, Constantine, or the TV show Preacher? So is that Constantine from Constantine? Because he's not a priest.
No. The character priest from Constantine
Oh.
or from the future. Yeah.
I would probably have to watch that again to be sure. But maybe if he
The
kills
thing-
enough people.
The thing is like you're looking for specifically a horror slasher movie because that's what Kent was talking about.
I'm
So you
willing
can
to be
certainly-
fairly broad with that.
I'm a little bit more specific because
Okay.
now I kind of want it to exist. Now I want to watch this movie.
Well, I'll also point out I can probably name quite a few movies that involve a Christian clergyman who isn't the bad guy. Like, I don't know, almost every ghost and demon horror movie that's ever been out there. Because,
Yeah.
it's almost always a Christian clergyman who comes and saves the day. I can think of, one or two movies where it's, a rabbi
Not
or an
before
imam.
and it's always some religious, older religious woman, like heavily Catholic woman who's probably like Latino that knows what's going on right away.
Like, the Curse of La Llorona. Although, to be fair, in that one, the priest was useless and they had to get a witch doctor guy.
how do you tell right from wrong
But he wasn't a slasher.
on any topic? But anyway, that we'll cover more on this,
Okay,
what
Ken,
happened in the school system. But in
How you tell right and
1925,
wrong on any topic is not related to evolution
Right.
being true or false.
Like I said
They are
I think
unrelated.
last time, every single moral philosophy that is out there, including divine command, does not depend on evolution being either right or wrong.
Yep.
Now, evolution provides some explanation as to why humans have some kind of moral sense, but Jack of Hearts says every
Also
Christian
separate
exploitation
or-
movies like the Kevin Sorbo ones, but
I
I don't remember. So those are generally extremely bad, but I don't remember any of them being slasher movies where a priest or a preacher is the
killer.
slasher guy. I think the closest we've come is Velocipaster, which is
I think so.
it's all. I'm not quite entirely sure I want to count it because, like I said, he stops being a priest before he becomes the Velociraptor anti-hero type. And he is killing the people who are the bad guys of the film, so it's it's almost there for me, but I'm not super there.
the teacher was found guilty and fined $100 for breaking the law. He did teach evolution. Here's your $100 fine. Well, that was the minimum the law called for. The minimum fine was $100. So the judge said he gave him the minimum, $100. Now, there was a little technicality on how this was all done, and so they appealed it, and on appeal, the fine was overturned. He did not have to pay the fine. He was still found guilty of teaching evolution.
I have no idea. I don't really care.
And it remained illegal to teach evolution in many states until 1968. In 1968, the last law banning evolution was overturned by the court
And
system.
then what happened
And
the
so
next year?
now it is okay to
Puck
teach
is having
evolution.
an existential crisis.
We landed on the moon.
Aww.
There has
Hi, Puck.
So he's just sitting on the couch looking kind of sad and staring at nothing.
Poor Puck. Puck probably needs some boobs or something.
He probably does.
never been a trial on to say you cannot teach creation. That has never happened. 2 states.
I mean, there's been a trial that says you can't stock of pandas and people in public schools because it's creationist. Not technically the same thing, but it's in the ballpark.
Arkansas first in 1980, I believe, and then Louisiana in 1987. Those 2 states passed laws requiring that creation be taught.
Didn't he already say that laws are irrelevant and should only be based off God, not what the people have decided? Why does any of this matter to his point?
I'm not sure that he quite said it, but I believe that what he's trying to do is get people who are public school teachers to be unafraid to teach creationism in a public school, which, like I said, that's probably a bad idea. You probably shouldn't.
That'll let your grandfather approve of you living with your girlfriend or whatever?
Yeah.
Is that how that
That's another
works?
important
That's-
part of this message.
That's what I'm waiting for, is...
But Grandpa, it's okay. They taught me creationism in school.
It just didn't stop me from living with my girlfriend.
No, that's what makes it okay.
Oh.
That's what's going to convince the grandpa. It's okay. I was taught creationism in school, young earth creationism in school. Therefore, it is okay for me to move in with my girlfriend. Because she was taught it too.
Okay.
Big difference. The court said, no, you cannot require creation be taught. We didn't say you couldn't teach it. We just said it can't be mandatory. There's a good Impact article. By the way, if you don't get the Impact articles, they're free from Institute for Creation Research. I would recommend you contact them on their website.
Free? It must be good.
I think this was filmed in like 2004 or 6 or something.
Oh, God. Okay.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, which is probably all of you, it was like some commercial or something, and this elderly woman is like, "It's free? It must be good." That's not how that works. They're trying to scam you. Right? So that's not a good point. It's free, it must be bad.
Oh, by the way, I can't talk. Joseph Turcotte says apparently The Confessional is a movie with a killer priest. Now, I'm going to go out and say, assuming that counts, that means it took us quite a while to come up with our first unambiguous, killer priest movie. Despite the fact that Kent seems to think that that's just the typical depiction of Christian clergy in Hollywood.
Okay, except there's a whole nother problem. The Confessional came out in 2009. When did you say this was from?
Oh, I'm going to give him time travel. I'm okay with that. Kent can time travel.
I think it's 05. I remember from last time.
There is another one from 1995 and something just called Confessional from 2019. And there's one, The Confessional from 2018.
Are these
so
remakes?
there's a few of the, I'm opening them all up now just to find out. This is just what IMDb told me. So The Confessional is 2 anguished characters meet unexpectedly in a confession box, one amidst starting a war. A previous Middle East encounter amplifies their agony. We also prepared to answer. I don't think that's it. Okay, next, that was the one from 2018. Next one is 1995. The year is 1952 in Quebec City, Quebec. Rachel, 16, unmarried and pregnant, works in the church. Filled with shame, she unburdens her guilt to a young priest under the confidentiality of the confessional. In the present year of 1994, Pierre something or another has returned to Quebec to attend his father's funeral. He meets up with his adopted brother, Mark, who has begun questioning his identity and has embarked on a quest for his roots that will lead them to... This doesn't sound like a horror movie either. Okay, next, 2019. Oh, this one looks like a horror movie. After 2 mysterious deaths at a college on the same night, 7 students somehow connected receive invitations to a confessional booth hidden on the campus. Their confessions slowly unveil the truth behind not only their the deaths, the booths as well, the dark, twisted dialogue, driven and emotionally complex mysteries entirely confined to the video confessional. And then there's the 2009 one. And the 2009 one says a disturbed sculptor assumes the identity of a small town priest and designs a game, Divine Madness, for an unsuspected town. So it's either the one from 2009 or the one from 2019.
I think it's the 2009 one with the sculptor.
But the 2009 one is he assumes the identity of a priest. He's not actually a priest.
Darn it.
Yeah, no.
All this means is that there's now an untapped market of priest horror.
Yeah.
Hollywood, get on it.
Yeah.
ICR.org and say, hey, would you put me on your mailing list? And every month you get a new one of these. They're up to number 380 something now, I believe, one a month. So that's, 380 months worth. They've been doing it since 1970s. They're 10 cents a piece. Just little one-page articles. They're powerful. You could order all of the back issues for like $38. Okay, and I got them in the library if you want to come check ours out. But
that's the first time Kent has recommended something, and it doesn't immediately sound like a giant ripoff. I'm not saying you should do it, but it doesn't sound like a giant ripoff.
It's because it seems like it's not his product.
Yeah, that's true.
Somebody else made it.
They cover every topic you can imagine. But this one, Impact article number 196, was from October. Can't read the date there. Is that 1990?
I can't read it either, Kent.
Okay. October of 89. They have an article about, hey, you can teach creation. You can teach creation science in a classroom. Everybody's worried about, the ACLU said you can't teach creation in the classroom. Yes, you can. But here's what happens. The ACLU has learned all they have to do is threaten to sue a school. And the school will back down.
Okay, I got one where the priest is a bad guy. The Hunchback of Notre Dame from Disney.
But is he a murderer?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's true. All right.
Frollo's totally a murderer.
Also,
Joseph brought up House of Mortal Sin. So I looked that one up, and that one is from 1976, and it says, a troubled young girl goes to a confession at a local church. Unfortunately, the sexually frustrated priest she confesses to becomes obsessed with her. At first, the priest stalks the girl, but later is revealed that he will stop at nothing, including blackmail and murder, just to get close to her.
That's
okay.
That sounds like that's.
So I think we've got two that count so far.
Yeah.
Now, what I would like for people to do is in the comments list out some movies that involve a priest or preacher or some other Christian clergyman where they're not a murderer, but instead they're a good guy. Because I'm going to go ahead and guess that there's a whole lot more of those.
So the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Now, the fact is, they would lose the lawsuit. If they sued a teacher for teaching evolution, or for teaching creation, they would lose. But see, the school principal looks at this and says, oh, no, a lawsuit from the ACLU is going to cost us millions of dollars to defend ourselves. So the principal's going to call in the teachers and say, look, you can't talk about creation because we are afraid of a lawsuit from the ACLU. Now the teacher's got a problem. The court says they can teach it. The law says they can teach it. The Bible says they should teach it. And now their boss says they can't. What are they going to do?
Their biggest problem. All summer long, they're worried about that. And then school starts and like, darn it happened again.
Well, the thing is like there are plenty of teachers that take and run that risk. And now we happen to live in a day and age where most high schoolers have phones.
That they won't put away.
That they're recording the class with.
So, by the way, this reminds me of, I think it's God's Not Dead 3, where the whole plot is, there's I think it's a high school teacher, and some student says, doesn't the Bible say? And the teacher says, yes, that is in the Bible. And then she gets in trouble for promoting Christianity. And it's like the most insane persecution complex narrative. Because it's like, no one I've ever seen who's watched it has come away with like, oh yeah, that's totally what would happen. Because no, it's not. You are allowed to state yes. You're allowed to answer a question about the Bible in public schools when someone says, hey, teacher, is Genesis the first book of the Bible? And you say yes, you're not going to get in trouble. I promise.
A science teacher in grade 11 science, I'm pretty sure. Grade 10 science. Grade 11 science? High school. One of my high school teachers that was the teacher that had to get into teaching evolution at that grade level was Christian. Very religious guy, and he just said that up front. And he's like, this is what I'm going to teach you. This is what some people believe. This is what some people don't believe. But this is what's in the curriculum. And this is what I'm going to teach you. And there's nothing wrong with any of this. And so he never used or pushed his religious position onto people. And it seemed to me that he was trying to more encourage kids who were taught young earth creationism to be like, none of this affects your faith. I did have another religious teacher around the same time who was an English teacher who was far more stringent about the rules in his classroom and your writing style based upon his religious views. So if you wrote a paper or you were discussing something in class, he was like, you can't say things like holy in the class because that's an oxymoron. You can't put words like that together. It doesn't make any sense. He was an English teacher.
Okay.
By the way, I think I might have been thinking of God's Not Dead 2. Look, all the God's Not Dead movies blend together because they're all terrible.
I didn't
know there were at least 3 of them. I don't know if I knew there were even one of them.
There's 3 of them, and then there's like another one, isn't there? Where Kevin Sorbo's the like crazy Republican dad with all the guns.
I don't remember that one.
God's still not dead.
So I remember one where there's the first one.
He's like the religious dad in that one.
Well, there's one where Kevin Sorbo is the ridiculous caricature of an atheist professor that isn't like any professor that anyone has ever had. And it's a happy ending because before he dies in pain and agony from a car wreck, he believes in God. So, yay! There's the one where the church is firebombed or something, and like the school's trying to like annex the land somehow. Like a college is trying to annex the land somehow, and then like in the end, the church is just like, all right, fine, we'll just find a new location, which was really a weird ending to that movie. And then there's the one where the woman is accused of promoting her religion in class because she truthfully answered a question from a student about what the Bible said.
The Reliant is the one I was thinking of.
Okay.
It's Kevin Sorbo is a hyper-religious Republican dad, and the town goes crazy for some reason. It was either political unrest or there was some kind of like... This is 2 years ago, so I don't remember, or at least since I saw a review of it. And he he gets there wasn't even, it was left on a cliffhanger. I don't even think they made another one.
Also, if you're interested in some Kevin Sorbo tweets, his January 6th, 2001 tweets were interesting. He's like, oh, history is happening. Hey guys, don't act like Antifa. We're gonna overturn the election. He got in a fight with Lucy Lawless and got his butt kicked on Twitter. It was amazing. Yeah. Also, a few hours after his pro-insurrectionist tweets on January 6th, he was like, the charge was led by Antifa. Yeah. Okay, bro, sure.
Yep, that happened.
Not going to teach it. Now, fortunately, many thousands of teachers go ahead anyway. They've learned what kids learn early in life. There's a lesson kids learn real early. Adults kind of forget it as they go along, but it's easier to get forgiveness than permission.
Hey,
don't ask us.
You should get that piercing before asking your grandpa. And you should move in with your boyfriend or girlfriend or other, and then ask for permission afterwards.
Yeah.
Or for forgiveness afterwards. So just do whatever you wanted to do anyway, kids, from the beginning of what he was saying.
Which we still haven't resolved.
Lesson learned.
Creation, don't ask. Just do it, okay? Can I show Hovind's tapes in my class? Don't ask that. Just do it.
Oh, God, please don't do that.
Can I get a recreation of one of Kent Hovind's tapes by Kevin Sorbo?
Ooh. Have Kevin Sorbo play
Kent Hovind? Yes. Please? Can Lucy Lawless play his wife and she kicks the crap out of him? That'd be cool too. So he we'll just rewrite that bit because it's only based loosely on a true story, and Lucy Lawless can punch Kevin Sorbo in the face.
It'll be sort of like The Master with Philip Seymour Hoffman, where he was playing L. Ron Hubbard, but no, technically for legal reasons, no, he wasn't. Yeah, he was. We'll just have to do that. Kevin Sorbo can play some guy named, I don't know,
Hence COVID.
Bent COVID.
Bent hove hand.
Hove hand. There we go.
Hove hand.
Plug in the tape, and the
This is
kids
gonna
are
be a
home
good
saying,
movie.
"Wow, guess what we learned in school today?" You know,
And it'll be that slasher
dinosaurs
movie
live
we're
with
talking
man.
about.
Some dad's going to call the teacher and say, "What are you showing my kid?" You know.
Yes, Kent, that's exactly what will happen. And then there will be a whole big stink about it, and you'll probably get that
That's
teacher in trouble.
That's a meme face.
Yes.
That is.
That right there is absolutely meme for days. That needs text all over it. More. Give.
Well, I may have just hit the print screen button.
Thanks.
So
Thank
I'll
you.
be sending that along later. It'll probably show up on my community tab on YouTube, Twitter perhaps.
Twitter.
Yeah. So
Well, I didn't know there was anything wrong with it. You know, what's the problem? And you can always respond with questions, you know, instead of real answers. Like Jesus responded with a question, you know.
yes, everyone loves the guy who always answers questions with another question. My goodness.
When they
Fuck
ask
your
him, you
dino
know,
doesn't know what
is it lawful to
dinosaurs
pay
That's true. He does not know what a dinosaur is.
Caesar? Oh, whose picture's on this? He's asking them a question back. You got to learn to do that. It's called
Bovine.
what's it? Demur, traverse and demur. Somebody asks you a question, you respond with a question, especially if it's a official, you know, trying to get you, you know,
Certainly not
nailed on
annoying.
something. You know, let me just respond with
Yes.
questions. You know.
Great advice. Great advice.
It's
Another
making
long
me
story. We
think
can end up
of
more later.
what's that Parks and Rec with the
The only
guy
kind
with
of
the
witness.
mustache.
Yeah, it was Ron Swanson. He said,
Ron
the only
Swanson.
kind of witness I enjoy being is a hostile one. So I will
Yeah.
respond to all of their questions with another question.
With the question.
It's like,
Do you feel that way?
Mr. Swanson, did you know that Miss Nope would be using members of the education center for her party? Would I have gone there if I had known that? Well, I don't know. Would you? Would you have? All right then. This is great. Look, Ron Swanson is an amazing character.
Yeah.
Ron Swanson. That's pointless.
She didn't get my real gold. That was just my decoy gold.
You should get these impact articles. Teachers can teach creation science in the classroom. Arkansas and Louisiana are the two states that passed laws requiring creation be taught, and nobody caught on, hey guys, this is unnecessary. Suppose you passed a law in Florida
Wow,
that said
another
teachers are required.
unnecessary law that if people were just made sense in general, there wouldn't be a need for a law for it. Never seen those before.
If it's unnecessary, maybe that's why the other 48 states didn't pass it. What do you think, Kent?
To breathe. And some teacher says, that's a dumb law. I'm going to sue the state for passing that law. Well, the courts would agree with you. You can't make a law that says you're required to breathe. Now, you probably ought to breathe, and you probably will if we leave you alone.
Yeah, probably,
okay? But
I guess.
you can't say you're required to. And they didn't
I
say you
didn't
can't teach
realize
creation. They never said that.
creationism was as necessary to life as breathing, considering it didn't exist for a pretty long period of time, comparatively.
Oh, are we talking about Andromeda in the chat now? It was a weird show. Although Kevin Sorbo
TV
was,
show?
yeah, he was fine in that.
I used to like Kevin Sorbo. I am just disappointed.
Look, okay, here's the thing, right?
Separate the art from
plenty of artists are terrible people and have done great art. It's not like you can't enjoy the art just because.
I still get a kick out of watching old like Hercules
Yeah.
and old Andromeda episodes, and like I'm pretty sure Kevin Sorbo was in We Are the Spartans. He looks
was.
really uncomfortable in that movie, and it's really funny.
All right, we'll just have to have a special where we talk about Kevin Sorbo sometime.
Hell yeah!
I don't think I know who he is. I know what he looks like. I can't remember if I've ever even seen him in
did a
anything other than
whole-
clips here or there.
I did a whole hour and a half gushing about Brendan Fraser. I will do a whole like 2 hours just talking about Kevin Sorbo and just scoping through his junk. It's great. Not his junk though.
Right, Andromeda
No,
wasn't.
not-
Second
Just
episode.
wasn't great. It was okay.
It was fun. It was fun for what it was.
Yeah.
And like it got some parts in it that were just really weird and made no sense, but
Yeah.
other parts of it were like, it was, if you didn't take it too seriously, it was kind of like Lex. Lex had some really weird, like Farscape, really cool, very elaborate, made sense, right? Andromeda, same kind of like, oh, we need to rebuild the Commonwealth. All right, cool, general prime directive goal. Wibbly wobbly timey wimey though.
And then, if I remember correctly, Lex was just about a bunch of space losers trying to get laid and failing.
Well, they didn't always fail.
They mostly failed.
They had the edgiest edgelord of edge characters that I have seen in a very long time.
All right, we're just delaying the Hoven by talking about sci-fi. I can tell.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
They just said you cannot be required to teach it. That's all. Stephen Gould, who's an evolutionist, he's a creationist now because he died, because he knows better, but he was an evolutionist at Harvard University.
What?
I'm just going to take a drink for Stephen Gould's and hell, ha ha ha.
Wait, is that what happened?
Yeah,
is that what that was?
That's what that was.
Because I just had, like, pretty sure I just got whiplash from whatever.
Yeah, that was just Kent
Okay.
saying, oh, Stephen Jay Gould is dead, so now he knows that God is real because, with the implication, because he's in hell.
Oh, now he knows better because he taught anti-creationism or something?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So, Ken Hope is an asshole. Noted. Got it.
Yeah.
All right.
He hated creationists. I tried
wonder
to
why,
get him to
Kent.
talk to me, or I tried to witness to him. I sent him my videotapes. I went up there to see him, and he was gone. But his secretary let me in his office and said, "Oh, there's my videotape sitting right behind his desk." So I hope he saw him. I don't know. But when he died, with my tape sitting on his shelf in his library at Harvard University. But Stephen Gould said after the
bragging?
verdict from 19.
Yeah, he's bragging that his tapes were probably unwatched on Stephen Jay Gould's shelf at some point.
That he sent to him for free, and so he put them on the shelf away instead of throwing them in the garbage can like you expected. I don't know I don't understand what he's saying.
I don't either. I'm also not super confident that that's actually a true story.
Maybe he watched them to rebut them, and he's like, "I'll just leave it for those YouTube guys a couple decades down the road.
Yeah.
I have real work
I
to
don't need to
do."
do this.
You know what's
Some
crazy?
losers later will take care of it.
His seminar series is like 8 hours, and we've already gone through all of it on Kent with
Yeah.
Kent. Yeah.
He's just impressed that his seminars ended up in a Harvard area.
Also, this CSE thing, it's like 20 plus hours long. Like the whole series. Yeah,
Ugh.
this is his deep dive on his Hovendism.
But we don't even know where we're so off track from where we started that I don't.
Yeah, you're taking a
how?
deep dive into the brain of Kent Hovend. What did you expect?
There's the guy and his girlfriend, like, I think the grandfather died of old age. So we'll never
that's
know.
sweet.
Well,
I mean, he knows better now, I guess.
The court ruled the Louisiana law is unconstitutional because the Louisiana law required they teach creation. Stephen Gould commented on that in the New York Times. He said, "No statute exists in any state to bar instruction in creation science. It could be taught before, i.e. before this law was passed, and it can be taught now."
Can we start a poll in the chat
Even he knew.
asking if people think that that's a cherry-picked quote or not?
Yes, 1 second. Let's see.
Thanks.
Did Kent Hovend cherry pick is it with a V? I think it's a Stephen with a V. J. Gould. Yes or no? There you
Jack
go.
Parson 5 said, "You really think Kent would do that? Question mark. Go on the internet and tell lies."
First, thank you for the super chat. And yes, I absolutely do.
I'm not going to tell you what I voted, but you can probably guess.
By the way, I like that there's now an
Well,
actual
it's
poll.
100%.
There's an actual poll
0.
functionality. I don't have to keep asking people hit one in the chat. I can just create a real poll. It's so much nicer.
I like the one in the chat because I like watching all the ones show up above my
Yeah,
head.
there is that. But it's easier to actually count.
It's like a time and place thing.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
You can teach creation.
I wonder if you
Roger
get more
Baldwin
engagement.
is the founder of the ACLU, and he said very clearly, the purpose of the ACLU is the advancement of communism. Communism is the goal. That's why we're doing this.
Hold on, there was a citation there. We're gonna see.
Baldwin is
Yeah, I
the
wanna
founder of
see
the
that.
ACLU, and he said very clearly, The purpose of the ACLU.
Okay. So this is, oh my goodness, I have to type in a URL.
The ACLU wants teachers to believe they cannot teach creation in public schools. This is not true, but just the threat of a suit often causes school principals to tell their teachers not to discuss creation even though they have a right to do it. Communism is the goal. Founder.
Let's see, do I have this right? Harvard Square Library.org/Unitarian Baldwin. Oh, look, it's an error. There is no such website.
Fancy meeting you here.
I'm gonna search communism is the goal. Roger Baldwin.
I'm gonna start checking if Harvard Square Library is even a thing. It's a Unitarian website, so it's not Harvard. What do you get?
Wow, you want to hear more of that quote?
I absolutely do.
So from Brainy quote, it's just the first one that popped up. It pulls up, I am for socialism, disarmament, and ultimately for abolishing the state itself. Ellipses. I seek the social ownership of property, the abolition of the propertied class, and the sole control of those who produce wealth. Communism is the goal.
Well, that's not entirely deceptive of Kent, then. He did say it, and I do think he probably meant it in not quite the way Kent thinks, but not super far off.
Yeah, I'm looking at the this is from he was born January 21st, 1884 to August 26th, 1981.
Holy crap. That's quite a lifespan.
So one of the yeah, I'm just kind of like scoping through his stuff. He served as executive director until the 1950s. Yeah, no wonder he was talking about communism.
Was he actually the founder? No wonder
he was talking about fucking communism.
Was he the
founders? Yeah.
Okay.
One of the founders of the American Civil Liberties Union.
All right. Well, for one of the first few times we fact-checked Kent, and it didn't come out as completely against him.
It is certainly missing context.
Yeah. Although I don't think the context would make Kent's audience more favorable to Roger Baldwin.
I can't imagine somebody during the 1930s having some kind of opinion about socialism and communism. Weird.
I know, right? All right, here we go.
Is the advancement of communism. Communism is the goal. That's why we're doing it. I want to know
when that quote was from. Because it was pre-World War II. Because this conversation that this quote came from could have been before, like, Nazi Germany communism.
Yeah.
Of mind that has a little asterisk. You look right under the picture, you see the asterisk down there? That means there's more information in the notes section. So if you get my slides, you can, if you get my PowerPoint presentation, I'll get it up here, we can read some of these notes that I have down here. ACLU founder Roger Baldwin.
Before or after the founding of the ACLU?
In 1927, he visited the Soviet Union and wrote a book titled Liberty Under the Soviets. Later, however, as more and more information came out about Joseph Stalin's regime in the Soviet Union, Baldwin became more and more disillusioned with communism, and in 1952 called it a new slavery. Fuck you, Kent!
All right, we'll take a drink for Kent lying about someone.
In the 1940s, Baldwin led the campaign to purge the ACLU of Communist Party members. Fuck you, Ken.
Hold on. Is purge good or bad?
It's bad if you're getting purged.
I guess.
It depends on who you are in that case. There's the Wikipedia article for anybody who wants to look at it. He condemned the, quote, the inhuman communist police state tyranny forced labor. So basically, before communism was tested, he talked about how ideally it made sense to him and that it was a good idea. And then as more information came out about it, he was like, well, this is trash. Never mind.
Yeah.
Imagine changing your mind about your political position, Kent.
Yeah, that's hard for Kent to imagine.
Said, I am for socialism, disarmament, and
he's
ultimately
actually
for
providing the whole
abolishing the
quote.
state itself. I seek the social ownership of property, the abolition of property class, the sole control of those who produce wealth. Communism is the goal.
You know what? Props to Kent for actually providing that context. I didn't think he would. I don't think anyone else thought so. So, you know.
It's not the context he needed to add, but it's more than...
Look, he did way more than I was expecting for Kent Hovind.
ACLU started by 1920 by Roger Baldwin. The same year he went to the Soviet Union, and he liked what he saw.
Yeah.
He returned home and began incorporating its values into the agenda of his organization. In fact, in
Okay, he's not going to point out that later in life he reversed his stance on this. I can almost guarantee you.
Yeah. On the plus side, at least he is saying that all of this happened by 1920, before World War II.
Yeah.
But he's also not saying that. He's just he's expecting his audience not to know. I think he's not expecting his audience to put that together.
Under the Soviets, extolling their atheistic, materialistic concept of life as the answer to America's problems.
Is he just quoting Wikipedia?
This is documented in the testimony of Earl Browder, former General Secretary of the Communist Party, USA. He claimed the ACLU functioned as the transmission belt for his party. This is how we're going to get it done. So, I call it the American Communist Lawyers Union for a reason.
Yeah, because you're going to ignore... Yeah, he's ignoring it. I'm taking a drink.
Yep, I already took a drink for it.
Fair.
Speaking at the junior college in Fort Walton, Okaloosa Walton Junior College, Community College, OWCC. Oh, it's been years ago I was speaking there, Okaloosa Walton Junior College, and Community College. I mentioned, the ACLU, and I called it the American Communist Lawyers Union, which I always do, okay?
Because I'm a dick.
Okay, so every once in a while, I've been asked, hey, how come you don't ever have little cutesy names for people or things that you don't like some people do? This is why. Most of the people who do that are the kind of person I don't want to be, and since I use a version of virtue ethics to guide my personal behavior beyond just what's absolutely forbidden, I don't want to be the kind of person that is, say, Kent Hovind is, or Rush Limbaugh was. Wait, he did die, right? Yeah, he died. Yeah. Or Rush Limbaugh was.
Some thought the longtime ACLU chief got bamboozled.
By the Soviets?
Yeah.
Well, probably. I mean, it's not like the Soviet Union didn't have a history pretty early on of only showing people visiting the best and brightest of whatever was going on. And hiding...
Yeah, it says he was invited to Japan and stuff.
Oh. I've never been invited to Japan. I've just been there a couple times.
Uninvited.
Well, I mean, I guess my whole group was invited, but I wasn't personally. My dad was once invited to South Korea personally by the federal government of South Korea.
That's neat.
Yeah. I went with him.
That's more to brag about than Kent's bragging that somebody left something he said them on a shelf.
Yeah. Oh! Also, on that trip to South Korea, a crazy man in the hotel next to ours barricaded himself in there and set the room on fire. And then when the fire department came to help break down the door and put out the fire, our hotel room got flooded. So we got put up in a suite, which was nice. So, and they left a fruit and wine basket. So, free upgrade because our room flooded and our clothes kind of smelled like smoke.
Oh my god. Baldwin was an SJW.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, I'm not serious. I wouldn't actually call him that. It just says, however, he reflected, quote, our treatment of racial minorities denies our moral claim to democratic leadership in the world when talking about America.
I mean, I wouldn't...
That sounds pretty anti-Nazi at the very least.
Well, I mean, I would not say that the ACLU has ever been pro-Nazi. Oh,
or at least, like,
it.
white
There goes
supremacists.
monetization.
Oh, whoops.
You're supposed to say the National Socialist German Workers' Party.
Drinking for Godwin's Law.
Mm,
It is technically when Kent brings it.
I don't care. I
Fair
don't care
enough, I'll
that it
drink
wasn't
too.
Kent who brought it up. I'm doing it anyway.
This one teacher was there. He got so angry during Q&A time. He was just screaming. His students were, this is our teacher. This guy's just lost control. He's gone bonkers. He came up and stood nose to nose with me that far away. And he's screaming. He said, how can you call these lawyers communists? I said, sir, obviously, you're a little upset. You need to study this out, okay? The whole purpose of the
need to calm
ACLU is
down,
the advancement
sir.
of communism. That's their stated goal. Don't yell at me.
All right, well, that's a story that I'm pretty sure didn't happen. At least not the way Kent is telling it.
I don't believe that whatsoever.
I fully believe that someone probably got upset at him and spoke harshly to him for calling the ACLU the American Communist Lawyers Union, especially when it was almost certainly post-communism purge. But anyway, I don't think that someone got up and screamed in his face 3 inches from his nose.
I also doubt that he responded that way too. He probably cried like a little baby.
Oh, and Vishanti says,
on a plane.
Vishanti points out that at least one time, the ACLU defended a neo-German worker socialist guy his rights to spread his ideas. So, I mean,
yeah, it's because
it's a civil liberty, even if you don't like them.
Is about civil liberties. It's not about what your position is and whether or not they agree with it. They're about the rights to have those things.
Yep. All right. Well, I think we are going to start wrapping up. Bent, you got anything you want to plug?
No.
Okay.
I have nothing to plug.
Chesh, what do you got for us?
Robert makes a good point in the chat and says, I doubt that was the ACLU's goal. Yeah, there's a difference between like him saying that's the communism is the goal in reference to what? The goal of a political movement, the goal of the ACLU, the goal of whatever it was he was discussing at the time, of which we don't know what it was he was discussing at the time. So if it's talking politically, then it has nothing to do with the ACLU, because the ACLU, whether or not it was capitalism or socialism, the ACLU's purpose wouldn't change. But I don't know. I learned something today. I didn't know anything about this guy. So thanks, Kent. Now I know more about somebody you're just rapping on for no reason.
Yeah, especially that he changed his mind long before this speech.
And did a purge. It's not even like he just changed his mind and went, oh, well, and moved on. He changed his mind and then went out of his way to fix and rectify whatever damage he thought he did. Right? So it's not even like you want to talk about taking responsibility when you've made a mistake. Like, that's the honorable thing to do. And you think that would be something that Kent's God would encourage?
He didn't change his first letter of his name like Saul did when he became Paul. So the conversion's not real.
Yeah, you gotta change
unless the R turns into, I don't know, like an S. Sobert.
But if Kent's purported enemy was able to do these things, where's Kent taking responsibility for the damage that he's done about things that he's gotten wrong?
All right, but do you have anything to plug?
I don't know. What day is it?
Tuesday.
It's All Souls Day.
I'll probably be around this weekend. There may be a Dumb Feck Friday. I'm not sure. Covering Canadian atheists was pretty bad.
Yeah, that was a lot of dumb.
You guys do want to see, like, if you guys are maybe Christians and you're a little bit more interested in garbage atheist communities, I covered that.
Oh, there's plenty of garbage atheism out there. My goodness.
There's plenty of garbage atheists. Please don't judge me by their standards. There's I probably will be doing, as far as I know, there's going to be some major legal updates by this weekend, so look for me on Sunday with updates to some of the legal stuff that's been going on in tertiarily related communities. So find me on Sunday. And also there is a hearing on the 9th, which is next Tuesday, for anybody who has been following the Non Sequitur Show stuff. And who knows, maybe when we get Non Sequitur Show back, I'll be able to ask Kent about this Nazi stuff. I'll do it. I'll totally do
Nice.
it.
All right, so for the Dapper Dino channel, Thursday is going to be the premiere of the first Helping Cindy Lincoln video. There are 6 episodes. They're all already uploaded. By the way, if you become a patron or channel member, you would have access to the first 4 of them already, and the next 2 are probably going to come out tomorrow for those people. So, you know, it only costs $1 or $1.99, depending on which one you decide. So
Go
Less
buy
than a cup
Dapper
of
a
coffee.
coffee.
yeah, go buy me a coffee, because right now
For
I'm
a
just drinking.
month.
I'm literally drinking $12 whiskey out of
Ooh,
78-cent cola.
spicy.
Yeah, that's $12, by the way, for a whole handle, and 78 cents for the 2-liter.
Listen, all we know is that Dapper's pragmatic and frugal about his money.
Yeah, because I don't have any.
And he may or may not have. Yeah, okay.
Right. So that's Thursday. Let's see. Tuesday, the 9th, in addition to there being a hearing, it should be Eric with Erica. I'm going to reconfirm with Erica. However, do bear in mind that I live in Arizona, which does not do daylight savings time. And at least in the US, and I believe Canada, the 7th is daylight savings time. So that means that the times that I do these shows will be shifting a bit. So for me, 6 p.m. is usually 9 p.m. for Chesh, but it's going to become 8 p.m. for like 3 months, because for some reason, standard time only lasts like a quarter of the year.
I'm Eastern, by the way, for anybody who that may affect.
Yeah. So.
Oh, Dapper, I'm working on a super secret special that time of the month with both Maddie and Erica. So
I think it might not be that much of a secret for me.
Oh, it's not a secret for you, but it's a secret for your audience.
I won't tell anyone. Also, if people are interested, I did mention the I might end up running a Power Rangers tabletop role-playing game. There is some concept art over on Top Hats Off. You can check that out if you want to. I have consulted with Chesh on the concept art, by the way. Bear in mind, the helmet is a stand-in, so...
I need to start a consulting business.
You do. And then give me free stuff. All right, everybody. Sure. Bye!
Bye!
I just want to take a second to thank my channel members and patrons, especially those pledging $20 and above.
Bob Knob, Bent Hovend, Ian Chen, Chris Love, Sphincter of Doom, The Venerable Bead, and Res Instance. My channel members and patrons help make this channel possible, and without their support, this channel really wouldn't exist. If you would like to help support the channel as a member or patron, there are links in the description to both join the channel as well as join the Patreon. Patrons and members get mentioned in these credit scenes, as well as getting early access to my scripted videos, and if you pledge $10 or above, you can also get access to various 3D assets that I create for Blender, both for use in the channel, as well as just general giveaways to my supporters to help in any Blender projects they might have. If a monthly or annual pledge isn't for you, then there is also a merch store linked to the description, and if none of that's right for you, please just like and subscribe, because every like and subscription really helps the video out. Thank you.